Hello everyone, welcome back to Glop. I am your host Derek. This will be dealing with the Town Creek Indian Mound. This was right here where the PD rivers migrated here during the 11th century AD and built their main village around 13 AD. The reconstruction's site ceremony center is a site worked by archaeologists since 1937. So this is where Nikki and I went. This is me standing before the bookshelf of one of the archaeologists. This was left here. You see all the volumes and everything that he actually wrote, or the archaeologist wrote up on this mound. And it was a lot of great information. We weren't really able to touch it. We couldn't really videotape in this room here. We could only take pictures due to the fact that there were some copyright issues. But they were really nice at this Indian burial mound that we were allowed to take as many pictures as we wanted inside and also outside. So let's take a look at some of those now. And here's my lovely wife Nikki, who was a big help for me in this. But let's get into the slideshow here. Right here's a video when you get there that everyone is allowed to take part in. It is essentially what the archaeologists have said about this Indian burial mound. It's not really comes based off of the legends and the tales and the stories of the Indians of the culture there, but it's more of a man's point of view, or I hate to say this, but a white man's point of view of the Indian mound, because they are archaeologists. They know more than the people's cultures that actually live there, is the way the mindset is. But anyway, it was really extremely nice to be able to be in here and take some pictures. There again is Nikki. That's a better picture. She said I had to keep taking pictures. She's probably gonna be mad about those other two I just put in there. But this right here was the logs that they still have, that has all the logs from 1937 up to now, where they keep it in this area. Thought that was really interesting. We're told not to touch it. So here we go, guys. The Town Creek photo mosaic. Now this is where the archaeologists working at the Town Creek photographed small sections and excavated about the high tower, then placed their photographs side by side to a large-scale plank wood from the photo mosaic. Now what this was to help the archaeologists be able to get the land masses, see the floors, and see. And in all honesty, it's really interesting that they went to this length. A lot of times we take it for granted that we have these little devices or drones that we can fly over a site and take as many pictures as we want, but this was really painstaking, and it just didn't take us a couple of hours. It took days to do all this, almost months to photograph all of it. And so here is one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and I kind of was asking what this was, and I was told that this is actually the bones that were found with inside the mound, that these bones are the burial of it. And one thing that really stood out to me as I was just engrossed looking at all these different skeletons, because I had always heard the legends that there were giants that were also in this site. Now that the Smithsonian tried to cover up, but the thing that really got me is that in this photograph, I get really close to these bones and looking at them, and I'm like, oh, okay, these look pretty normal. But then I come across this one. And this is the one that just caught my eye, which the guys there could not explain to me why, I was seeing this elongated skull, because all the other ones you could see the skull that was just a regular skull, or a human skull. There was nothing special about them, but there were these ones that just stood out to me. And this is the other one, these elongated skulls. Now, I have been looking for this book, and I have been very blessed with the fact that UNC Chapel Hill actually sent me books, in which Nikki's going to get some more books that I'll be doing an extended study on these mounds and how it was documented. But one of the books that we got was an outer print book called The Town Creek Indian Mound. And I thought I was going to pay a couple of $100s for it. Ended up only having to pay about $40 for it, because they had it actually there, a couple of copies left, and they did allow me to purchase it. And inside the book, which I'll show you in just a second, was a elongated skull. Alright guys, so this was the book that I was allowed to purchase, was the Town Creek Indian Mound. and it's just the pretty much the archaeologists and stuff and their findings, and it tried to give you an understanding of what's in the book. I mean, what's at the mountains, why they had this. And the one thing that came to me was coming from this chapter 5, which is right here, part 5. And this is dealing with the people. And I'm going to show you some of the pictures that we captured that were really just as like, are you kidding me? But this is the people of Town Creek. Let me just read a little bit out of it, a little excerpt out of it. It says, artificially remains that other evidence of past cultures are the realms of archaeology, but it has come increasingly important to include human skeleton remains in archaeology analysis. Human skeleton remains from the archaeology sites are important for what they can reveal, but the biology of the people represented, as well as what the bones reveal about the interaction of biology with the culture. They form a comprehensible of evidence for the studies of the health and diet and appearance and the demographic social status of culture change. The bones of evidence of the people themselves are the source of information almost without parallel among archaeology date and coordinates. Now here's the thing. The one thing about the PD River or PD Indian is the fact that they don't know where this culture really came from. They have a lot of speculation, they have a lot of theories, but when it gets down to it, they really don't know who these people were. And when I was talking to the people there, they actually said, yeah, we don't know that much about this culture. We don't really know, other than what archaeologists of that time pieced together, that we base all of this site on. But the actual people that live there, we really don't know that much. Matter of fact, it goes in the book in the 4, it says, Town Creek Indian Mountain is usually a phenomenon in the history of the Native American agriculture. Most archaeologist sites are investigated for a few years and then abandoned as archaeologists move on to new locations. Where long-range research has been conducted, it has often under the several directors and different plans of research. The Town Creek, which is still an open archaeology site, by the way, is deals with Town Creek status on Little River, a tribute to the Great PD in a central North Carolina, and has been a focus of constant program and archaeology research under one director for more than a half a century. The research has concluded to scientific understanding of the original inhabitants of our continent and has provided educational opportunities for many graduates and undergraduate students at the archaeology. Moreover, these contributions to science and higher re-education ever made to the site contribute directly to public education. Town Creek is one of the most important state historical sites in North Carolina, and it really is. Now, dealing with the people, and as we were looking into this, one thing that stood out to me was the skeletons, the photographs that I was able to take. Now, I was given this, shown this book, and it's the PD Skeleton and Remains. Now, this is figure A, and figure B, figure C, and figure D. Now, the view of the 4 skeletons is PD female is A, and the B is a PD male, and C is a Sunni female and a Sunni male. Now, the reason why they're showing you this is that figure A and figure B in the skulls to what they're pairing it to figure C and D of a female of a Sunni tribe. One of the tribes that is allegedly believed that actually came here, because they believe that many tribes came and had meetings here. But you can see a lot of difference in these skulls, as you can see right here. That there's just a lot of difference in the shape and form of the skulls compared to what we know of the Native Americans down at the bottom, and supposedly the race of Native Americans they claim that was actually at this site, the PD site. And the one thing that stood out to me, which I also marked in this book, let me just move my little paper for you, is that what they did was is they show you in C and D on this one's a Sunni female and a Sunni male, and figure A is a female burial and a male burial. Now the thing is that you're seeing the frontal view of the skulls, okay? Now, it's kind of hard to hold this book and show you, but I could not pull these pictures up online. You see how big the tops of the cranial of the boar or the heads here, and look how small the size of regular Native Americans of the time compared to these. Now wait till you see what really stood out to me, which was telling me, wait a second, y'all are throwing it, you're spin and biased on this site, saying that this was given to us by the Native Americans, even though the cultures of the time of these burial mounds, the legends was that there was a red-haired giants that were at these mounds. These were built by the red-haired giants, that it was believed that these sites had ties to giants, and that there were war between our earlier Indian ancestors and this race of giants, which right here they have, and I can understand why this book is really not in print so much anymore, is look at the difference. Elongated skulls. The one A and B that were actually found in the burial mound that I'm going to be showing you in certain clips soon had elongated skulls at the Town Creek Indian Mound. And they want to act as if these were Native Americans of old, of a tribe that they did not know who they were, but they were there. And this image that I am showing you in the picture is what really showed me that it's right here in North Carolina that there were actually giants that walked the earth. And this is being hidden by archaeology because it tears up the whole theory of Darwinism. And when you're there, they cannot explain who this tribe was and where they came from. I personally think that this is where this tribe came into Peru. I do believe that these giants were leaving the Middle East, that they were trying to get away from Joshua. And I think they landed in Peru, and I think they migrated from Peru up to the top of the North America. It's just a theory that I hold. It's just a thought that I have, but I do believe that that is what happened. And so let's move on to the images. So right here you have this elongated skull that I showed you out of the book that was at this burial site with the other elongated skull right here. And this isn't the only mysteries that are actually at this site. Now, the historical sites that are around North Carolina, here is a map, and it gives you all these historical sites that goes through the ages and time of history of the things that took place in North Carolina from the time the settlers came to the point of where they were translating what they thought of these Indian mounds. But right here, Nikki was taking pictures of how the soil, and I'll leave this up for you a little bit, so if you want to, you could read it, or you could pause this video, read it. But it tells you the sediments and how they're able to age things. So I had Nikki stand next to it, and the topsoil is essentially our era, and how it slowly falls into these different layers, and you find different pottery or different insects or different things of those areas, and you're able to date the site accordingly to the sediment that's there. And this layer contains broken dishes and dash for the 19th century farmhouse that was there. The nearby river flooded, deposited this layer of silt. It goes right here, the slow, no evidence of human presence was in this era here. Pottery, and the dates that was there, 1450 to 1650. And it goes to show you the type of bowl fragments that they found in that area that dates back to 1000 BC. And then you come to the actual spears and arrowheads that are found. It was believed used by these early people, and the dates they went there. It talks about them coming down the land bridge, which I have a hard time buying that. I think they really came through Peru. You could stop it and read this if you wanted to. We just want to make sure we took as much pictures. This was the different artifacts that's been found around and what they were used for and why they were used, and shows you the progression of how they were able to create their tools of weaponry and pottery. And so the first American hunters and gatherers is what they say. They show you the different periods of going against the mammoth, and all this is showing this type of evolution idea, giving you this one side of these artifacts. They're not 100% sure. There's a lot of this speculation, where these different arrows were found around the different areas of North Carolina, where they became more social, in which this fits a lot into the whole thing of when the mound was allegedly built. Is allegedly built during the time where they were just supposed to be hunters and gatherers. And no one really knows why. It talks about here that they stopped moving in search of wild foods and began settling in a permanent villages located near rivers. And that's typically what a lot of cultures do, is they set up their sites where it's near a water source. The Mississippi period. Now this is where they are saying that shortly after the mounds were built, this is where they did their games, their little rituals, their coming together as societies. They give you this time period of Carolina Piedmont in the 1200s. A new culture tradition arrived in Carolina. These Indians practiced extensive agriculture, trade with tribes of shells and copper. Now, one thing you know about the giants is that copper is something that is really associated with the giants and really associated with their culture. And I found it very interesting and there's not really a big copper mine in North Carolina, but yet copper was something that was traded and used, and they have artifacts from it, such as the necklace that you see here, a type of copper that's here, the different sources that they used and traded with and created these shells, things out of shells, which I thought was interesting because some of it was like seashells that came. Now, the Town Creek Indian Mound is where we're getting in here, and I'll leave this. It says around AD 1200, new culture traditions arrived in the PD River Valley, called the PD by archaeologists. A new culture was part of a far-reaching tradition known as South Paleolithic Mississippian in Georgia, South Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and portions of the Southern and West North Carolina. The new culture gave rise to complex societies. See, this right here is the one thing that kind of doesn't go along with the Native Americans, as built Eastern mounds for spiritual and political leaders, engage in widespread traditions, supporting crafts specialists, and celebrating new kinds of religion. They remained to the Town Creek area into the 1400s. Now, here's the thing. They're saying that they created this new, if you will, religion. And it's really not the case. I mean, yes, the Native Americans had their beliefs, and they believed that nature and all worked as one, and there was the Great Spirit. But the way that they never really built what we would consider a house of worship. Not like what you saw the Aztecs or the Mayas or the Egyptians or the Grecians, where they built these monuments to the gods. It's not typically the thing that the early Native Americans did. Family and bringing together and looking at nature and living off of only what you needed, and looking at everything was connected is essentially what they did. But what they're saying here is they created this mound for worship, which kind of is like, why would they do this, and what culture did it? Now, the ceremony of life is the conch shell, and you see the garb. This is a medicine man and what he would have worn, and the ceremony, and the sacred fire that is lit and is supposedly kept lit all year long. The different practices inside the temple, sacrifice, burns, ceremonies, is growing ambers, emphasize the warmth and light shed by the PD people. Now, they're saying that the PD people did this. And again, this ties into the whole thing with the giants. Like I showed you those skulls As you see, they're not showing that the early PD people had these elongated skulls, but the ones that were found in the burial had elongated skulls. This, to me, associates more with the Middle Eastern and also a little ties to the light bearer that you see this type of culture being bringing into worship, bringing into the power of the occult, possibly. But these are the black drinking water that they would drink, and this stuff here, the black drink, is tea made from Yopan shrubs, called violent vomiting, and cleanse the inner body just as the ritual cleansed the outer body. And they believe that this would get them completely all the impurities out of their body, and that's why they would drink this. But again, a lot of this to me it's a hard thing to have it tie into the Sunnis, the Cherokees that were of that age, and they call these people the PD warriors. That's because they don't know who the real tribe is. These are the different accounts and how the archaeologists said this is how they associated with one another, their hierarchy, and their way of pottery and keeping the ceremonies alive. Sticks to the mounds, upcoming brush, how they had their smoking tobacco, signs of friendship. Again, sharing smoking tobacco was a sign of friendship, and how they used that as a tool to make peace with other tribes. These are the different little artifacts that are found there and the types of pipes that was used. Now, they were apparently a war raging against enemy villagers. Now, this is a thing that was said that was used, whereas these tools and practice, these games to keep them in shape and in practice. The one thing that stood out about me with this one here is it kind of had a feel of what you saw in the Mayas, where they would play these games with the balls and with the sticks, and it really looks more like what our current baseball looks like, where you have, or not just baseball, but and really has ties to what looks like lacrosse, even what we see today. And then these are the weapons, the war club and cane that was used. Now, the burial of the dead, and apparently these artifacts were what was found with the burial of the dead. And this is an artist rendering of one of the burial sites. And the death of the body was washed, dressed, painted, then was wrapped in hides of cloth and placed in a grave lined with a bark or cane mats. Infants were buried in large party urns, which you saw just earlier. There was the medicine wheel. The burials, the PD probably traded in the tribes of the coastal areas, and with their beads. These are, each Indian created a medicine pouch bundle that was to protect them. It was a type of rituals of their life, and they designed it, and they essentially kept that with them when the time they became a man, an adult, to the day they died. The agriculture of the area. And the beans, corn, squash, pumpkin, these are the things that were found in these areas of what they were, the PD people, whose their diets, the stone area hoes that they used to make crops, their hunting techniques, using the antler, the hide of a deer, and arrows. And anytime you want to, guys, because there's just so much I've got to get through, but you're more than welcome to read through this stuff and see it. This is the style of how pottery, how they created their pottery, how it was the different stages of pottery, and how it was very important to have the coal method. These are actually pottery shards that was left over that they found in the paddles. And the pottery designs, that they had these very interesting designs on their pottery, as you can see right here with the circles and the lines and stuff like that. Nikki said it was sometimes how they would take cloth that had that type of texture, and they would kind of pat it or smash it on there and then peel it off. Now, this is the thing that really just got me and Nikki both. Now, this whole thing is to sit here and tell you that this little artifact that they found, they're saying that this artifact is projecting or telling us the type of haircut the PD people had. Now, as you can see, the mohawk, the long hair in the back, to me, kind of that, and I'm not trying to make jokes when I say it, but kind of the feel what we still had in culture was the mullet. And they're saying that this little artifact that you see right here is depicting this hairstyle. And I'm going to tell you, me personally, I totally disagree with it, and I'm going to show you why. This tells you the age, the makeup, who the photograph, the studios, the hairstyle, who did all this. The age of the person was between 22 to 26 years. He's 5'6", and that's essentially how tall I am, which, remember that height, 5'6", because you're going to be seeing this wall that's built around this mound. And you're going to take a look at how big this mound entryway going in is. And I'm 5'6", okay, guys? So just take a look at this right here. Now, this is the pottery figure. Now, here they say this is the eye sockets. Now, and this is the nose. But take a look. You saw those elongated skulls earlier. You take a look at the cheekbone, how big the head is, and the head goes back like this. And then you see this crescent and this elongated head. And I'm going to just show you an elongated skull next to this. So here is a known elongated skull. And this is one of the skulls that was found in Peru. This one right here that you're seeing. I just want you to notice that how elongated the skull goes and how it goes back then into the jawline and then back up. And you have the eyes and the mouth, the nose. This to me looks like a depiction of an elongated skull. This is not a depiction, me personally, this is not a depiction of a mohawk. No matter how you try to spin it, no matter how you try to view it, this clearly to me is showing the depiction of an elongated skull, which tells me that there is a type of bias in archaeology and with the skeletons that they want to hide this narrative, and that this is being hidden right in plain sight in North Carolina, that this elongated skull is the depiction, which you saw the pictures that was in even their books that they have, where it sits there and says, these were the skulls that were found there. We don't know who the PD people were. I'm telling you, I think that they are the remnant that left the Middle East, that came through Peru and worked their way up. Instead of working their way down from the ice bridge, I believe they worked their way up from Peru. And that this is the smoking gun, if you will, showing that there is a small, tiny artifact showing an elongated skull that archaeology is telling us that it's a mohawk. And so this is a closer depiction of it that we took. And, you know, again, I'm going to show you this closer view of a side-by-side. Here's the eye socket. Guess what? There's the eye socket. There's a nose. There's a nose. The jaw protrudes down. The jaw was protruding down and back. Cheekbone. Cheekbone, elongated skull. There are even elongated skulls that dip in like this and go up and goes back. To me, like I said, this shows that this little artifact is not showing you the hairstyle of a mohawk. This is showing you an elongated skull of the giants. And that's just what I wanted to point out to you. This was the back of the skull. This is the female that they claimed that was there. And the hairstyle that she had, they have no really idea. And again, I want you to pay attention to the height. The other one for the male was 5'6". She is 5 feet. Just keep in mind, that was the average height they said that the people were that lived there at this Indian burial mound. This shows you the different plant life that was there, the grass that was growing around. It was really interesting. They had it growing up where you could, when you're walking into this area, you have all this grass growing up, saying this is how it would have looked going into the mound. You would have to come through the grass that you see there. There's me standing before the monument and the plaque, just reading and taking it all in. The Town Creek Indian Mound has been distinguished a Registry of National Historical Landmarks. That was done in 1964 by the U.S. Department of Interior National Park Services. So This mound is, and you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot take anything. You're not even supposed to pick anything up, touch anything at these mounds, because they will detain you and you will be prosecuted. So here we're walking through the grass. This was the building, the complex that you go through that we took our pictures. As we're moving in, Nikki was taking pictures of the grass, the vegetation, giving you the feel of how it would have been walking into this area where all of a sudden you're seeing this gigantic fence that they say was built to keep out warring tribes, but yet other tribes were supposed to come here and work. And again, I'm 5'6" in my big old overalls right there, and a little rest area, the beautiful vegetation, the trees. Now we're coming up to the actual top. That's the top where this would be where people would have stood on the outlook to see who was coming in. This is one of the mounds, how far you could actually see the mound. Even this far away where it looks like it's just flat right there, but it's very interesting when you get up to it how tall this place really is. And I was walking in, so we wanted to show you exactly how tall when I'm 5'6", and that's supposed to be how big the men and the women were going into this spot. And there I am walking up to it. Look how tall it is. And then we get right here, and I was like, this is very interesting because it has an open floor thing. So if someone came in that was not supposed to be there, apparently they could spear them. But this part here was just added. This was actually how tall the opening was leading in to this. And I'm sorry, but this right here, I'm 5'6". Okay, guys, right here, I'm 5'6". That has to be a big joker to be able to walk through here. Because all other things they said, they made you bow down, or you had to be really short. And you're going to actually see some of the sizes of the doors of how big they really were and for people my size. So this right here goes on to show you that this right here says that this doorway was not made for a short person. And you're walking in. Again, this opening area is how big it is. Goes all the way across. And you're going through, and you're seeing, how they did the plaster and how they did the ropes. And right there is one of the little outside mounds, which we'll be going into, which you'll be getting ready to see a small video clip from that. But this is the wall, and it went all the way around. Now, if you look, this is one of the doorways, and there's a big difference between the door that you come in to these doors that they said was inside this enclosure for people to bend over. And when I was asking, how do you know this is exactly what it does? Well, he says this is pretty much an artist's rendering of what these huts would have looked like. And we just based this off of just compiling all different cultures of the Native Americans to come up with this. And I said, was this actually in the area of that time? They're like, well, like we said, it's artist rendering. So you're getting to see this type of artist rendering of what these huts were. And, walking in, seeing the difference. And this right here is the burial huts at Town Creek, and what you will see for the rituals and stuff, the burial types, the body's position, each grave reflects a difference in age, sex, and status of the individual. At least 4 burial positions were discovered through archaeology excavation at the site that the bodies of infants and young children were often put in ceremonial pots or urns and placed in the ground. Religious and political leaders may have had their upper bodies placed on a ladder with the lower legs bound together, and clan members may have been laid flat on their backs in the graves. And this was based off of 4 that they just found there. This is the afterlife and the burial goods that's in this place. You see the description of a burial scene. You see the medicine man, the uncle. This is the medicine man standing right here. You see the uncle with the infinite. You see the family members around. The object in his hand is the medicine wheel, which to me looks like an image of Baal. Nikki was getting this called the engraved Cockshell Forget, and then the archaeology records of this and the organic material, including the human body, decomposition with the burial of the ground, clothing made of animal skins and hides, does not survive after many years. A burial, likewise, most pigment used to paint the body do not survive, and footstones placed at the ceremonial pots, ground shells, cups disappear except for the microscopic chemical evidence. So in other words, they're basing everything off of assumptions. None of the artifacts that they claim that would actually be there is actually there. It's something that they claim was there because they've seen these at other sites or other cultures, but they have no knowledge of who the PD people really were. And so right here we're getting ready to see the mound that they say was a place of worship. The sacred fire was supposed to be here, and you're walking through this area, the green, the stuff, the fence that's inside of it. You're walking away from the first place where the families would have been for medicine and their children. This is how big the complex is. It's not really a small area. This is really big. And this open area is where they said they would have played that game with the rackets and that ball that you saw. And, you know, Nikki and I are looking at it saying, this thing is a major construct. And for me, it just does not fit into the paradigm that they're trying to force it to fit in, where they're trying to say that this was built by the early Native Americans, but yet there's no concrete evidence that says that that actually happened. But they do just overlook the whole elongated skulls and the evidence that says that these people are not really the people that were there. They migrated from somewhere else, and their culture and their practices was very alien to the earlier Native Americans and tribes that lived there. And there was a school group that was there. They pushed this onto your kids, that this was built as a sacred place for children, for the Native Americans, and they base everything off of the white man, and I don't say that to be mean, but they do, off of white man's interpretation of this area, and not actually off the Native American culture that has all the legends that are there. Again, this is what I wanted to show you. Remember how tall that door was for me to walk into this place? Again, this is an artist's rendering of how these huts were built. And you remember that the people were 5, 6, or 5 feet, where the Native Americans that lived in that area, that's typically the height that they were. And you understand when you're walking into the gates how tall that gate is, and you ask, what is this, how it really looks? And this is an artist rendering. And then you're seeing how short the doors really are, even on my stature, and going in. And I will have a video clip after this, the raw footage of what we experienced when we went through it. But the doors are just tiny, and they have the a man that with antlers, half man, half beast. You got the white. This is essentially nature, like animals that live off of vegetation versus the predators. I found it very interesting, though, that they said that it was thought that, you know, the Native Americans viewed themselves as the red. They didn't really view themselves as the white. The white was a depiction of a savage beast, and the red was to show his savagery. And then when you hear about these ancient cultures where they said that they had red hair and were very light-skinned, just made me question, you know, were they trying to tell us that these giants with the red-haired giants with white skin were very savage and would eat everything in its wake? Again, this is inside the hut. This is where the sacred fire would have been. Again, you have the bear and you have a beaver. They would sit around these edges and they would have a meeting. The sacred fire would always go, and they said that from here they would take the sacred fire back to each one's tribe, and that's where the smoke would have gone up up to the heavens. And this is just inside this place. It's very interesting how they have all this stuff set up. And again, they don't know 100% if this is how it really looked. They do have legends and the tales that the archaeologists come up with. That's me walking out. how far I have to bend over to get out of this. And they said the reason why that was is to make you bow down and to be humble. But that's, again, not something that you see from the Native American culture. Again, this is us walking down the mound, seeing everything. Now, I told Nikki to stay at the top and take a picture. This is me almost at the bottom of the mound. So that should tell you exactly, and I'm 5'6". This is high up this mound is. And they're saying that the early Native Americans, for some reason, just decided to build this gigantic mound. And yet there's no true evidence. This is a hut, what they said that it possibly would have looked like. This is another rendering of what the hut could have looked like. This was us going into this area. This was considered the medicine hut. And you see how, and this one is actually built without any of the plaster. This is actually built from the clay. This is what they said is how it would have been built by the stuff around us. So in other words, they were taken from nature to build this, and as you can see, it's kind of falling apart. But it's still very interesting, and you're supposed to replace and fix this stuff, but this is how they said it would have looked with the weaving of the vines and the twines to make the walls, the opening where the fire would have gone through. But they said this is what they believe was a closer rendering of what it was, because this is taken from the surrounding area and actually using what's around you to build your hut. And so we took some more pictures inside, and just the difference between the two was just amazing. But this was just a very surreal time to be in here. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is that I've shown you this opening of all the stuff here, and I'm now going to add in just the raw photos from the video itself and the trip that we took. So you'll see all of it in its entirety through the eye of a camera. Thank you so much, guys, and let's get into it. All right, now I'm coming in. Now this is in which the area in which they say they were set up is in here. So you can hit the button. Well, it's actually supposed to start the program, but take a look. You have a medicine man. If you look closely, let me zoom in with this. If you look closely, the medicine man has a medicine wheel in his hand. But what people don't realize, that's also another symbol for Baal. To see this being a part of the rituals or the stuff dealing with the medicine men, and knowing what we know, the ancient time, wearing the antlers, which goes to the being known as CERN. You have a hot father.
That's a shaman.
A shaman.
That's
yeah.
uncle. Child is in his arms. Over here is aunt with the necklace on that's standing upright a little bit.
Okay.
Down here is mother. And this is cousin.
That's cousin.
This video is on mine. This is the video I watched.
Okay.
The
And
front one might be on there too.
All right. And if you look at all the stuff they have around, the pottery, the vessels, everything around in this area, the antlers, you see a lot of stuff that it mimics other ancient cultures, especially the rituals, the garb, the design, the symbolism. It's very interesting how they do mimic a lot of other ancient cultures. And Nikki will be taking a picture of the stuff that's down here
Right.
for me. But
Oh yeah, I'm taking pictures of that too.
but this is very interesting. If you really look, these people are really not that tall. Yep. It's not really that tall.
I really need it close.
It's not close, Nikki. You can't touch it. You're not supposed to touch the stuff.
Yes, sir.
So Nikki's taking pictures right now, so I am going to let her do what she's doing. She's my photographer. That's what she also went to school for, and she's not too happy about the way the pictures are coming out for her.
Not in here.
Yeah. But like I said, we're doing what we can to do this documentary to show you all this stuff so that you can look at it and see it for yourselves. Okay, take a picture of those things. So we're now moving out from this area. I'm just going to wait on Nikki for a little bit longer. Take a picture of that.
Okay.
Now the next thing we're getting ready to go to, guys, is this right up here. This is the, what do they call it, the worship mound,
I do not know.
the temple. This right here is the temple.
This is the mortuary. That's the townhouse and mound. They call it a townhouse.
Townhouse and mound. Ready to head up it?
Yeah.
So this is where we are going now. Okay. I think they're talking to somebody inside there, so.
Yeah, there's probably got two groups.
Okay.
It's pretty in here.
Yes, it is. One of the walls fell down over there. Alright. Hey, let's knock these two out real quick. Let's go down this way.
Okay. What's that for these?
That's why we're going to move quickly. So we're going to go do these other little mountains real quick. And then we'll go up to the medicine mound. Let me pause this.
Except for the photo. So funny.
Very nice. Top of the mound.
To be honest with you, I didn't know there was but one group here, how quiet they were.
I know. That's what I said too. I was like, wow. So we're going to just look off the side here. So here we are at this mound. And as you can see at the very top of it, it is, wow.
Four different clans. But maybe you would have more than that in here. Maybe some of them had to sit in the corner. Because if you were a really, really important clan, then maybe you've got a flag wall. And if you were not an important clan.
Now this you'll see me moving the camera around. But I want you, if you can, listen to the audio in the background of the guy speaking. He is the one that works there. And this is the stories that they tell students when they come here. And they pass it off as concrete evidence, but when you really question it. They're like, well, this is from the archaeology site, and this is how it's based off of that rendering of what the archaeology says. And for some reason, we don't question that because we think, oh, archaeology was science, they got to be 100% right, and forget that they are man, and that there sometimes is an agenda. But let's take a listen. I'll try to get as loud as I can, so you can hear it, and let's get into that.
Maybe you sat in the corner, or maybe you had to stand over here. But we really don't know. Yes. We have to be careful with it. You're in a building with a grass roof, but you just keep putting wood on it. You just never let it go out. That's someone's important job. So here's what I want to do. I want to start moving back out the door. Grown-ups, do watch your head. We will come outside and we will walk down the mound and over towards the North Tower and head back up to the buses. I will follow you and answer questions, okay? All right. Do watch your head. Yes.
We gotta get a great job.
I know. I like that building over there.
I'll be cutting this fire short.
Now, I did pause this by accident. I didn't realize it got paused, but I started it back.
That's right. You can pause it.
I didn't, but I didn't know it had, because when I was getting...
You want to pause it now?
Yeah.
All right, now we're going in, right, Nikki? So, all right, guys, we are going in. I'll have Nikki follow with me because they may come back up here. As you can see, it's a grass roof all the way around. Now, I want you to understand, going into this thing, look, I'm 5'6". That's how tall I am. I'm going to let Nikki take a picture so I can show you a picture of my height and my size next to the entrance of the door. Okay? Now I understand, I'm 5'6". Now, Nikki will be taking pictures as we go in. Now be careful, Nikki, there are wasps.
Okay.
So we are going to go inside. Now as you can tell, there's paintings on the wall. Now I find it interesting that you've got the deer, or the deer here, and then you have the white wolf. Now what the significance between this to say they really don't know. They took a lot of this culture, as you probably hear, from other cultures. But there are the sacred wolf, the bear, the deer, and the beaver. As you can tell, the predators are white. Now, in my research of the Nephilim and the Anakim, it is believed that a white redhead race of meat eaters came over here. You have the Parakan skulls, you have all this stuff, and I found it very interesting that the predators are white skin with red teeth, red claws, red eyes. Kind of makes you wonder if maybe their town hall meetings were more to do with more than just predators of animals and not so much of the tribes of Nephilim tribes. Now, one thing I thought was very interesting, this is the sacred fire. Now, this fire would be it would be ascended up into the heavens, as you see here. Let you get a picture of that right there, of the heavens. This fire would be burning all year long, and this fire would be taken to other tribes around. But if you look closely, it looks like a medicine wheel. Almost, to be honest with you, kind of has a shape of a turtle to it too. But I find it interesting, you would have your tribes. Huh?
The wells.
That's supposed to be where you pull the ash so that they could take the fire with them. Now, I find it interesting that you have that because that kind of matches up with,
A rock
yeah, and
they used to carve out
and it also
for a
matches up,
different purpose,
yes,
for bloodletting.
yes,
And what you do is you put the sacred, you put the animal on top
mm-hmm,
for the sacrifice, whatever it was. Cut 'em, and then that would drain away because it would smother the fire. You wouldn't want that to happen.
and the other thing that I think is the fact that it looks like their medicine wheel around their neck, and this fire would be taken to all the other tribes around, which makes me ask the question, does that have association with the light bearer, the light bringer? Possible. Just throwing it out there. So, these are the places that they would sit and sit and rest, and would sit next to the flame as the stories and the talks took place. This is what they would discuss, and how what they would discuss would be for the next year. And essentially, it was a gigantic festival, just full of, like the guy said, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all wrapped up into one. So when Nick,
Did they mention when the dates were that they would celebrate? Was it harvest time?
yes, at the end of
Okay.
harvest. You ready to head down?
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to head down.
Anything particular you want to make sure
Did you get a picture of all the animals?
I'll make sure.
And make sure you get a picture of the two coming in.
Yes, I did.
Because I find it interesting that the non-predators are white. The predators are white with red. The legend of the Nephilim is that they were white male with red hair. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna get me on the picture?
I know one where you're not in the picture. Just so you can have that.
Okay. Definitely want the one right here at this door. See, white man, claws.
See, I don't think they had a shell like the. I think that's little hands from all these years. But they're older to it. What's in there?
Fire extinguisher, broom. But I want you to see, guys, you actually have to duck. So I'm going to have this right here at arm's length. And you got to bow to get out. And then you can stand back up. Amazing. It's amazing of what they were capable of doing and what they were able to do. Just sheer amazing. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to get to another mound while we're on this trip so we can show the symbolism between the two. But I'm going to show you the perspective of when you would be leaving from this area. So I've got the video camera, one going frontwards and one going backwards. And this will give you the idea of what it would be like walking down. And if you look, there is a skull at the top of this pillar. And you have a small fire pit right there. So we're going over this way to the other. Yeah. Now the one we're going here is supposed to be like kind of made out of straw and the grass and stuff, and they say that this is supposed to match up closer to the huts and stuff that would be of the other tribes. Now they base a lot of this off of the Cherokee tradition, which I thought was very interesting that they did that. I'll let you hold this camera and videotape. So I get a right-handed rest is going. So now we will go in here. And again, you have to bow. Going in. Now, as you can see around me, this isn't as crisp and as pretty as the other one. It's more how the reeds would be woven into the wall. Clay would be plastered or used as plaster. Goes to show you that if you really wanted to, that Yahweh gave us everything we need in nature to provide for our shelter. All of it. And the thing too is that this one too has a fire pit where it's going up into the heavens. Be careful, there's a black widow spider nest in here. Spider web in here.
Alright, babe.
Yeah. Black widows are very prevalent in North Carolina. I've had the non-privileged to be bitten by one. And it's really cool in here. I mean, I would say, overall, you're not freezing.
It's a little warm outside right now.
Yeah. But you can see there's a great difference in this one and the one that we just came from, the place in which they did all their services and get-togethers and their meeting. But it's very beautiful. Only thing you would have to worry about is that if you had hay fever or allergic to grass.
Mm-hmm.
So Nikki's 5'7", and that gives you an idea how low you have to go when you sit down.
Really sharp people. If this was the height of the benches.
Yep. All right, so we're going to take a short break.
Now I want to just show you the end of our trip. We are going to have to go back and do some more filming in some of the other spots. Apparently something happened and a lot of our video and audio got corrupted. So we were a little bit upset about that. The pictures that we were able to take, we had those. But now we decided on the end of the video, I wanted you to see at least the other mound that we did make it to. We don't have the great audio, don't have a great the video like we wanted. But we do have enough to give you at least a comparison of the two mounds. And also, we're going to let you experience some of the vacation that we had. So I hope you enjoy the ending. And thank you for watching the Indian burial mounds with us. And I hope that sheds a light or at least gets you interested in doing research yourself. Maybe not always taking what someone's telling you, but you get out and do the research yourself. As always, take care. God bless. Hope you enjoyed the ending of our little bloopers and everything that we want to save for you. I will be doing a more in-depth study about the mounds after I go through all the documents and stuff that's been sent to us. And take care, guys. Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, as on our trip for doing the stuff with the mound builders, this has been a common thing that we've seen going from top of North Carolina, in the middle of North Carolina, top of South Carolina, and we're now getting to the bottom of South Carolina to Atlanta, or to Georgia. And this is what we've been seeing on the road all the time. Military vehicles. And they're eating their lunch, and there's a medical. Some more guys going over there in their fatigues. But yeah, we've been seeing this as a constant thing all the way down from North Carolina, South Carolina, and out almost the very, very edge of South Carolina, beginning of Georgia. This is what we've been seeing on these trips. All right, guys, as always, pay attention to your surroundings.
Bye.
So I'm kind of giving y'all the two-eye views. Nikki is videotaping right here, and I'm doing this here. And Nikki's taking photos. And this is where we are, guys. In the distance, you can hear a boat on the lake. Beautiful. Well, we are now going to go get into the car. And as we're getting into the car, we are going to, I guess what we're going to hit the Indian Mound first.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do first, guys. We're going to hit the Indian Mound first. Don't leave your apple sitting there.
I'm not. I will throw it away.
All right, guys. Until then. So right here is another beautiful area. I mean, it is gorgeous, and you have to be careful. Extremely careful. But you don't want to get out here, slip, fall, and hurt yourselves. But take a look at that, guys. Is that not a gorgeous, gorgeous view? Just take it in. That was created for us by our Creator, Yoivahe, through His Son, Yeshua, because the Word was with God, the Word was God, and there was nothing that was not in the beginning with the Word. Wow. So, that is what we have right now. Now, Mickey, I'm going to let you take over my phone recording, okay? Well, I was just talking about right now so I could switch hands. Yeah. There we go. That's better. What is it? Come stand next to me. Careful.
There's a sweet tree here because see, there's sweet balls. This is pretty. Hey guys.
So we are here.
Hello.
It's beautiful, is it not?
It is gorgeous. Very pretty.
Very, very pretty. So there you have it, guys. So we are now getting ready to go to the main.
Santee Indian Refuge and
Yeah.
Mound. And look how pretty. Oh yeah. So pretty.
Nikki's doing it for her channel too.
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, we're here. You need to kind of do some stuff for your channel.
Yeah, we are.
So,
And I have been, but it's just so pretty.
and I got a lot of clipping to do, a lot of editing.
Yeah, it'll be a struggle. Derek's making a documentary on now.
Yep. I know. It's gorgeous. Did you lock her?
Yes, I did. Is your manning track still on?
What? Before I lose my film, let's do the mound first.
Okay, and I come back and do this?
Yep,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
You can stick it in my orange book bag. Yeah, I know, right? Come on. As long as I still got... Is the car locked?
I think they take real Spanish moss, dry it, and then sell it at
Yes, they do, sweetheart. And the other thing that you can do is you can use that as an insulator for if you're ever out and about. Yeah. Yeah, yep, and be waterproof. Yeah, you got your, okay, good. So, right now, guys, we are walking to the Native American mound. Now, there's controversies about these mounds and why they were here. But this is Fort Watson. See if I can get this on camera. And Nikki's doing really good.
at taking still pictures for me of all this stuff.
We actually had a girl we were going to bring with us on an intern, but she was still in school, so I kind of
Doing this
on the weekend.
day that she's not with us, but
Yeah.
we
So,
probably could have hit Town Creek Indian now,
but we needed to get us this as much as we could. Santee Mound. Yep, in South Carolina. People don't realize how much history is out here. And when you do, you become extremely amazed by it.
do me a favor. Go back 3 feet.
Wow, very interesting. This monument and memorial of officers who fought in the Battle of Fort Watson was designed and erected. Contributors were Walmart.
Really?
Yeah,
Isn't this close to where he's from?
maybe. I don't know. And that's something, guys. Alright, now we got to take us a nice little hike. Looks like we got to climb. You ready to climb? Yeah. Yeah, this isn't eerie in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So we're really curious to see what they say about this mountain. You ready, baby girl? Why now? Okay. Why now?
Searching, moving, taking objects, strictly prohibited, okay?
I wonder why.
Under your book.
So, apparently, what we're walking on right here, Nikki, is supposed to be part of the mound. That's leaves crunching. All right. Okay. Keep off the mound. Mhm. It really is. So right here is the mound, guys. Now this mound is not kept up as well as the one in North Carolina. I think they say they want to keep it reserved. You ready to go upstairs, Nikki? Yep. Yep.
This is what it looked like originally.
Guys, this is what you don't do. You don't take things that don't belong to you. Alright.
You know what they do? They trim trees and throw them in the mound just to make it so
steps are a little steps are a little rickety, Nikki. That's our destination. Hey, while the sun's right here, let's hurry and get some pictures up here. Alright, this will give you a view. That's where we were. As you can see, this is still the mound. We go up another flight of stairs. Oh wow. We are up here, people. This is the top of the mound. Wow. The top of the mound. And there's the good old sun. Now, I don't know if Nikki's going to make it all the way up. If you look closely, there she is taking pictures. Alright guys, so as we have been going on this trip, we've gone to several different locations and different places, and the one thing that they all have in common dealing with these mounds is they do not know who the Native Americans, the Indians, were when these mounds were created. They said that they disappeared and don't know why. They just all of a sudden were here and the next they weren't. Now Nick and I have theories, and we've talked about the theories that we have. One, Nick has a theory saying, you know, what about the earlier settlers came here and instead of really fighting the Native Americans, but they were fighting maybe these tribes of the Nephilim. Who knows? The legend goes on about these giants as that they were cannibals or they ate humans. And when you have these mounds in archaeology and science and everything, can't explain why a lot of these mounds had giant skulls. It's documented. There's a lot of places that had these skulls, and the Smithsonian, whether they destroyed them or whatever, we'll never know. But we do know that the Smithsonian did get a lot of these giant bones, and they can't be found now. Because the reason why is it destroys and tears up the Darwin theory that we evolved, and that we're evolving to be smarter, stronger, and bigger. But that's not what history is showing us. It's not what the actual bones is telling us. The fact is that with the landscape that we see in this narrative is that there was a people that built this mound right near a lake, and the way it is positioned, as you can see all around me, it's opened everywhere. The question is that if the giants did walk the earth, as the Bible says, as you know, walk the earth as in those days, and also after that, is that why history has been hidden from us? Possibly. This has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I prayed that we were able to do more, and maybe we will. But this right here was something I've always wanted to do, something I've always wanted to investigate, look into, and see, and became more in tune with it when you find out that the ones they said actually built these places really didn't. Not in the way I believe that that our history books tell us. It's interesting they don't get the perspective from the Native Americans. They get all their research and their perspective from an archaeologist. Just a food for thought there. As always, pay attention to your surroundings. You never know what's in the corner.